Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay. Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about uh the hip hop slash R&B artist Lizzo and what's been really going on with her in regards to fat shaming and cyberbullying. A couple of weeks ago, Lizzo released a song called "Rumors" featuring Cardi B, basically where she talked about all of the hey Lisa, what's going on? All of the main comments and fat shaming that she's been going through and the cyberbullying that she's been going through basically since her career started. She started like back in 2019. The first song I ever heard from her was Truth Hurts, and she came out with a different sound. She was playing the flute. She was flute, some kind of wood. I don't know if it's a flute, but like some kind of woodwind instrument. She came out really silly and animated, kind of like a Missy Elliott type, but kind of way more talented and way more animated and way more out there than Missy Elliott. And also, just like a lot of these other artists, really sexual. But the difference with Lizzo was she was a different body type. She was a bigger lady, more different than Meg The Stallion, more different than Normani, more different than Cardi B, Nicki Minaj. She was bigger. So when she would do these kind of sexual antics, people would say mean stuff about her and people would actually get offended. I have a video on my channel in the archives talking about her and how I felt at that time about her. I felt like she was being judged by a different standard. We don't, for example, um, look at smaller women like Beyonce and say, well, they shouldn't be doing that. Some people do, but a lot of people, especially back then in 2019, they really didn't. They just accepted it that okay, Beyonce is always sexual, and that's just the way Beyonce is, or that's just the way Nicki Minaj is, or that's just the way Cardi B is, and we don't judge it. Similarly, we don't judge really white women that are bigger by that same standard. For example, Melissa McCarthy doesn't get bullied as much as Lizzo does, even though she's a bigger woman, but she's a Caucasian woman. So I was saying even at that time that Lizzo was being judged by a different standard than other female artists that were of a different size, of a different ethnicity. And because it was at the time when she had done that thing at the Staples Center where I guess she started twerking at the Staples Center or whatever. And I said, same thing I always say about every female artist or even a male artist like Lil Nas X. If they want to show their body off, hey, it's a free country. Let them show their body off, whether or not they have a different sexuality, a different body type, or whatever. Now, Adele got bullied before she lost weight. That's true, Lisa, but um, not really in the same way. Just because I think, um, well, I don't think I know that there is a different standard in terms of Caucasian women could get away with being bigger. Yeah, sort of. Yeah, but again, Adele's music didn't really wasn't really sexual. But see how Adele conformed to the normative size standard and she lost weight and then people started accepting her. You know what I mean? Lizzo wasn't doing that. Lizzo, I said in my 2019 review, I said Lizzo is one of the most innovative and provocative artists that we had in 2019. I said we started with Beyonce, single ladies, and we ended with somebody like Lizzo. Again, somebody different, somebody out of the box. And she was being made fun of, she was being mocked, she was being told she shouldn't be doing that, she shouldn't be showing her ass. People said, well, it's disgusting. Who wants to see somebody fat like that? But again, men are not judged by the same standard. Remember when Fat Joe, I think it was at in MTV back in the day, he was singing "What's Love," and he suddenly took his shirt off, and people never said, "Oh, Fat Joe, that's disgusting. Put your shirt back on. You know, you have man boobs and everything." I'm sure people thought it, but they didn't outright voice it, and they didn't start bullying Fat Joe on his Instagram either. And then, even further back than that, Biggie. Remember in the warning video, Biggie doesn't have a shirt on. He's sitting there rapping without a shirt on, and Biggie was a big man, and nobody judged him by a different. Nobody ridiculed him or derided him either. But so just because he's a man, he gets judged by a different standard. Or Big Pun, somebody that's even bigger than Biggie, Lizzo, and all those other people that I talked about didn't also get judged by that same standard. Why? Because they're men. So as we see, uh, men, uh, Caucasian women, and skinnier women don't get judged by this standard. But Lizzo, a plus size black woman who is not going to be like a Kelly Price and run away from R&B music and run towards gospel. Yeah, Rick Ross. At least I'm surprised you forgot his name because you were the one that pointed it out to me that was his house in Coming to America. So yeah. Anyway, she's not gonna be bullied and she's not gonna be um, intimidated out of rap music or out of secular music or out of this kind of music or bullied to change her body type. Sure, if she wants to change her body type because she feels it's unhealthy, fine, that's her own body. What we have to learn how to do in our society today in 2021 is learn that it's your body, your choice. Okay? If 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 you want to get something done for your body, or your own comfort or your own self-confidence, such as a BBL, or even even a vaccine, right? Or if you want to wear a certain type of clothing or you want to be sexual in a video, that is your right and your prerogative to want to do so. So the fact that Lizzo was being overly sexual and she was showing her body type, being a bigger woman, a plus size woman, that's great for her. And it's great for her self confidence. For people to belittle her and for people to put her down in such a way like they did is disgusting. And then, okay, she takes time off. And I honestly, like I said yesterday, I had a video yesterday about it, but it didn't go through because it was late at night. But I said yesterday, I honestly thought that after the whole Staples Center thing, that she was completely run off of music. But I'm glad that she's back. And another thing that really offended people was when her and Cardi B go way back because they did the Hustlers movie together in 2019. And Lizzo was a stripper. And that's what I love about Liz. I loved about Lizzo from the beginning is that she's just as sexual as all these other women, but she's plus size. And you got to remember too that not all men like the same type of women. So some men might be quote unquote disgusted by certain people like Lizzo, but some men might be attracted to women like Lizzo. You know what I mean? There has to be variety of women out there for certain type of guys. So you're saying people out there saying, "Oh well, they don't want to see Lizzo." Like I don't want to see, Lizzo disgusting. Look how disgusting she is. But maybe there's some guys out there that are fans of Lizzo that like that type of body type. You know what I mean? So if you're going to appeal to you're going to make sexual type music, it has to be for everybody. Otherwise, then it's not really that fair. But anyway, I thought Lizzo was ran off of the music scene. Okay, Lisa's saying, yeah, last year trainer Jillian Michaels fat shamed Lizzo and the whole internet got on her for that. Yeah, Julian Michaels, okay, she's a fitness person, so she makes her money basically shaming fat people for being fat. And in our society, um, when you are heavy, it is told to you that you should change yourself, or otherwise you will be bullied and derided. I was bullied throughout my whole life in elementary school for weight, and it had a tremendous effect on my self esteem, even me as a guy. And you watch these movies, and you watch these representations in popular culture of fat people, especially Nutty Professor. And the message in Nutty Professor is the Sherman Clump has to essentially change who he is and become Buddy Love in order for him to attract both Jada Pinkett and Janet Jackson in part one and two. So movies like that don't really do a lot to encourage the self esteem of bigger people. In fact, the only time I remember bigger people being represented in a positive way on television was the Roseanne show. Dan and Roseanne were two big people, and they were in a relationship, and they seemed seemingly happy, and they didn't try to go out of their way to change who they were as in terms of their size. But in our culture, it is told to us, especially in the post 1980s, that by people like Julian Michaels that make their living off fitness instructions, and people like Tony Robbins before her, fitness instructors. Okay, he accepts himself in the clumps. Yes, that's truly so. But does he? Okay, why? Why? It is told to him that it is the the feeling that you get in the movie later on is that she's only going out with him because she feels sorry for him, right? So what we're talking about here in terms of Lizzo is not necessarily somebody accepting herself, because Lizzo is kind of like the Sherman Clump in the movie. She's accepted herself. She is confident with herself. She is outwardly um, defiant of these body shaming, fat shaming stereotypes that are hurled against her, right? But at the same time, it is other people saying that she's not sexy, that she's not attractive, that they're bullying her, that saying that they don't want to see her represent. Because if she was coming out there in a potato sack, a burlap, or like a burqa, right, or something really covering up her curvaceous figure, people wouldn't really have a problem with it. They'd just be like, oh, well, she's just a big person that's coming out in a frumpy outfit and not being sexual, like say Aretha Franklin, right? Or even Kelly Price when she was in R&B. But Lizzo's not doing that. Lizzo is coming out there in a sexual way in the same way these other girls are, but she's doing it as a big woman. So it's not necessarily that Sherman Klump had to come to accept himself, but does the outside world accept him? Do they accept him in a sense as a normative type of leading man? And they didn't. That wasn't clear in the clumps. He was his his heavy setness, his heaviness is played up for laughs in the movie. Like, and the fact that they made a part two and he had to actually go back to being Buddy Love shows that even though he was getting married to some seemingly attractive women like Jada Pinkett and Janet Jackson in the story, he still really wasn't coming to terms with some the ways and how he felt. Now, in rap, in the examples of Fat Joe or Rick Ross or Biggie, it's a little bit something different in a sense because Um, what attracts people to rap is the roughness, the aggressive behavior, the streetwise mentality, the ghetto-ness, the hoodness, not necessarily sex appeal. And if it's sex appeal, it's sex appeal in a different way, in a different context than what we would see, say, in an R&B video like Ruben Stutter or in Lizzo. So with Lizzo, a lot of people were offended that she was acting this way. So anyway, long story short, she got off track a little, but she comes back and she has this video with Cardi B, Rumors. And yeah, Lisa says stores like Victoria's Secret are changing their mannequins and how they in their figures are are to be more curvy, and that's where they should be. A good movie to watch on this, particularly when it comes to women of color. Two good movies to watch on this, and how women of color do come to be accepted, accept themselves, and be more self confident, more self assertive in this. Is Real Women Have Curves by America Ferrera, which was an HBO movie back in like in 2000, and Fat Girls by Monique. And it shows you how African cultures, uh, African cultures, particularly West African cultures, see women like Lizzo as way more attractive than even skinnier women. Because for the longest time, in ancient times, or ancient medieval times, when food was more scarce and when food was more, um, when people were more likely to starve, or in traditional cultures like in Africa, a bigger person, both a man and a woman, was seen as more attractive and more desirable as a mate, because a skinnier person would mean that you were starving. So a bigger person would be more desirable as a mate, in the sense that it would indicate wealth, because you could afford to have more food. You could afford to have an abundance of food. So in countries like that, still, that are depicted in that movie, bigger people are seen as more wealthy and more desirable because of their wealth in those societies. Whereas here in the United States, higher caloric food, or fattier foods, if you will, cost or sugary snacks are very cheap, mass manufactured, and high lowly priced, and usually gym memberships and time and money it takes to get in shape, and healthier foods are placed at a higher, more expensive. So if you're in shape, it is taken for granted in our society in the 21st century that if you are in shape, you are of a higher economic status, hence more desirable. Whereas if you're in you're not as in shape, you're probably poor. So the perception of being wealthy is linked to desirability and to body shape in different ways, vis-a-vis Africa and the West, or vis-a-vis modern times versus uh, back in the day. So it has a lot to do with that. But of course, it doesn't have anything to do with that when it comes to Lizzo, because she's a highly successful R&B artist. That's just the way she's made. One of the things that people don't really take into consideration is that people might have a health condition that prevents them from losing weight. They might have low metabolisms. People in our society, right, and Lisa is absolutely right. That's something that is I was going to bring up. People in our society perceive it like, oh well, he or she is just fat and lazy. Look at them; they don't want to get up off their ass. They don't want to exercise. But a lot of people have certain kinds of disabilities we don't know that are linked to weight loss, and I mean, makes it harder, They have glandular diseases that make it harder to lose weight. So one sandwich, right, might cause them to gain like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pounds. You don't know that, but you know what they look like, but you don't know their story. So that's kind of like that with Lizzo. What Lisa's saying is that in a lot of minority communities, healthy food options are not available. Again, because of pricing. If you go into a lot of these stores, like a lot of these Whole Foods, for example, is a big one. Whole Foods is one of those hallmarks that if you see a Whole Foods in your neighborhood, the neighborhood is probably going through gentrification, which in layman's terms means that they're kicking out all the minorities and replacing them with rich upscale white people. And Whole Foods is a very expensive store, and a lot of people that are on welfare or food stamps or public assistance, they won't be able to afford this kind of healthy food options. And they're surrounded by unhealthy food options, food options that are cheap, mass manufactured, and fast food type stuff that are easy to make, easy to manufacture, and inexpensive. And those are everywhere in minority communities. McDonald's is, Wendy's, KFC's, Popeyes, and that kind of junk food is everywhere in poor and minority communities, and that's reflective in a lot of the more serious tone type depictions of bigger people in popular culture, like for example, Precious and even in Roseanne. Now, granted, they're not minorities in Roseanne, but they are on the lower economic scale. They're all poorer people. So it's like the subliminal messaging in the media is like, well, look at them. They're poor. All they eat is hamburgers. All they eat is French fries. All they eat is fried chicken. That's all they can really afford. They can't afford gym membership, so they don't have the time. They don't have the time or the resources to exercise. Gym memberships are very expensive for people that are poor. And then factor in again, like I keep saying, with regards to disabilities. People might have disabilities that prevent them from physically exercising too. Like they might be in wheelchairs or they might be, um, you know, mobility impaired. And gyms are not really that accessible, let's be honest. In fact, myself and Lisa used to go to a gym that was uniquely for people with physical disabilities, and it was making a killing at first because gyms don't really cater to people with disabilities. The gym equipment is inaccessible, let's be honest. So a lot of these factors contribute to the person's size. But because of the way our society depicts it and because of the way popular culture frames it, a lot of us may be subject to bullying, especially online, because online there is a certain anonymity to it. You could type a comment in the comment section, you could insult the person, you call the person a racial slur, an ethnic slur, you could fat shame them, you could make fun of them, and people really don't know who you are. You could be using a catfish name, you could be using a fake screen name, whatever, multiple accounts, and you can do this however. So this is exactly what happened to Lizzo. She comes back out with the rumorous video addressing this situation, and even in addressing this situation, in which her and Cardi B do the video, and they are in the video they are Greco-Roman goddesses, and this is something interesting, and this occurred to me last night. Why Greco-Roman goddesses? Because for the longest, when the video came out, I said, well, why Greco-Roman goddesses? What's the point of that? But then I figured it out. In museums and in art exhibits, a lot of times, the Greco-Roman aesthetic, the Greco-Roman body shape, the thin body shape. We see it in Renaissance art too, Renaissance sculpture art that is post Greco-Roman. We see it a lot. You know what I mean? Like Michelangelo's David is a perfect example. Michelangelo's David is perfectly sculpted, and then the body is perfectly curvaceous. So I'm thinking she's putting a new spin on it. She's saying that Greco-Roman art doesn't have to be this stereotypical Eurocentric standard of beauty. It could be expanded to different body types and different types of women, and even pregnant women like Cardi B. Um, so she makes the video, and again they start bullying her, and now they start bullying her to the point where she is saying that she doesn't feel loved, she feels isolated, she doesn't have any friends in LA, she's crying, she is really she's really under a lot of mental distress, and you can really tell. And this video is just heartbreaking. And she says sometimes she doesn't feel loved. And Cardi B, kudos to Cardi B. I love Cardi. You can say what you want about her, okay, drugging the men or whatever, or being a little uncouth, being a little ghetto, if you will. But one thing I can say about Cardi is that she is always real. She keeps it real. She keeps it 100%, and she represents for her friends, and she always got her friends back. She says, "Don't worry about them. They're just nerds who don't have a would never have a seat at the popular kids table," and that's basically true. The people that have come after the people that have uh, the people that have come after Cardi B for the longest since WAP are kind of like the people that come after Lizzo. All they want to do is police people's actions. They want to say that women shouldn't do this, women shouldn't do that. Um, they want to go around calling people degenerates. They want to be assholes and do it ambiguously online. Okay, Lisa is saying two comments I want to address that Lisa is saying. She said an apple could cost $5 at Whole Foods for no reason, and she also said that the people that um, bullying Lizzo deleted their comments, all their negative comments. Two of those things are very indicative of the culture that we're living in right now. The culture that we're living in right now is full of toxicity. And the culture that we're living in right now is full of highly priced consumer goods that are leading us down a path of poverty, socially, mentally, and economically. You know what I mean? So not only are we impoverished economically sometimes because an apple costs $5 at Whole Foods, but we're impoverished socially and morally as well. Because anybody that would bully somebody to the point of trying to harm themselves over how they look, you're impoverished mentally. You need to invest in some moral capital. You need to invest in some mental and emotional capital before you sit there and you talk and you try to bully. Because you think because you can get online and you can make a comment um, ambiguously under some kind of fake name or type words that you're worth something in life. That being a troll is being worth something in life. Well, you know what? Get a life and try to get out there and get a girlfriend that is half as good hearted person as Lizzo. I bet you can't do that. Lizzo, from all I can tell, from all indicators, she's a wonderful human being. She's a nice person. She's good to her fans. Do y'all have any fans? Do you have any purpose in life? No. Well, your purpose in life is to get online and troll people and try to say mean things to them. I don't know whatever happened to the phrase, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And again, people are going to come with this free speech bullshit. Okay, free speech, the First Amendment, okay, that protects political speech. We have the right to say whatever we want to say politically to somebody. But what we don't have the right to do is bully and belittle somebody and use our speech as a weapon against somebody emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. We don't have the right to do that. And think about it, there's a difference. Again, I use the example of shouting fire in a crowded theater. There's a difference, guys, between having the right to do something and exercising responsibility. Should I say that? Sure, I have the right to say it because I can say whatever the hell I want to say. But should I say it? It's a responsible thing. Well, how will my speech, what kind of repercussions will my speech have on that individual? What kind of things will my speech make that person do? Such as commit suicide. The second point, Lisa, is that it shows how morally bankrupt we are as a society. That people can get online and just hide behind a computer screen and start just typing mean words to people and take no accountability, and then chicken out or puss out later and say, "Oh well, I didn't, you know, I didn't say it. Look, it's deleted." Keep it up there. If you have the balls and you have the courage in your convictions and you are such a free speech warrior and you are against censorship online, keep the comment up there, pussy. You know what I'm saying? Keep it up there. Don't go behind Lizzo's back and then try to delete it off Instagram after you said it. Keep it up there. If you really believe that and you really want to be a mean asshole and a mean bully, keep the comment up there. A couple of years ago, here's an example from my own personal life. A couple of years ago, I made a video about Candace Owens, and I blasted Candace Owens. I forgot for what. I'm always blasting her for some kind of shit she said, probably something stupid. And and uh, it was like a picture of Uncle Ruckus from the Boondocks, and somebody had the nerve to under the comment in the video. They said, "Well, I don't know if she looks like Candace. I mean, I don't know if Candace Owens looks like Uncle Ruckus, but you sure do." So you know what I did? I didn't delete the comment. I didn't censor it because I'm not for that shit. I liked the comment. Oh, okay. Yeah, I misunderstood this. Oh, well, okay. Facebook and Instagram deleted it, but I'm sure they would have deleted it anyway. Themselves, because that's kind of chumps they are. But Facebook and Twitter, I mean, Facebook and Instagram, I'm deleting it. That's crazy, and I'll get to that point in a minute. Um, I didn't delete the comment about Uncle Ruckus and me looking like Uncle Ruckus, and because I came out and just came to someone's, I kept it there, and I even hearted it, because you know what? That's what Lizzo should do. She should take the fuel from these haters and make it into something positive. Show them, listen, I don't give a fuck because I'm still here, and I'm still gonna stay here, and I'm still gonna be who I'm gonna be. And if I want to show my ass at the Staples Center, I'll show my ass at the Staples Center. And I don't care what you say. Anyway, going back to um, the point that Lisa said about Instagram and Facebook deleting it. No, they shouldn't delete shit like that. They should keep that shit up there to show the ugliness of people. But what do you expect from these social media oligarchs who freaking allow the Taliban, an enemy combatant organization, go back to my video in the archives, to have a social media presence? Of course. Or the people that they came out there and they started to promote political ideologies that were hostile to the United States, like the January the 6th movement. I don't care about Facebook and Instagram. What they want, all they are is the almighty dollar, and they want to protect their constituency, and they want to allow people to bully. But then they got the nerve to go up there and say that they're against bullying, that they're against hate speech. They're only it's funny because they're only against hate speech when it's political speech. When that's the freedom, that's the freedom that the founding fathers fought for. That's what it was meant for. The founding fathers didn't fight for free speech so that we could go around calling each other fat assholes or going around calling people names and bullying innocent women into having suicidal ideations. The founding fathers crafted the First Amendment to protect political dissidents. So they want to censor political speech but keep toxic personal speech. That doesn't make sense. That's the exact opposite of what the founding fathers fought for. So Facebook and Instagram should be ashamed of themselves for doing some shit like that. Because they protect toxic personal speech, but they limit political speech. At least when it comes from Americans. Apparently, they don't limit political speech when it comes from misogynistic people that wear bed sheets from across the country. And okay, I realized that they're wearing this ceremonial garb. Maybe the bed sheets comment was a little inappropriate, but just caught up in the heat of moment, the heat of the passion. And okay, what I don't consider it xenophobic or anything because these people, the Taliban and stuff, they collaborate with Facebook and Instagram. They had they're oppressing people that wear the same ceremonial garb as them. So whatever, I'll make fun of them, I'll belittle them, I don't care. People that do horrible things should be belittled and they should be called out. People that are innocent, people that are just expressing themselves and expressing their freedom of expression like Lizzo, they shouldn't be belittled. They should be encouraged and they should be hugged. If I could hug Lizzo right now, I would give her a cyber hug right now. You know, because that's what she needs. Lisa is absolutely right. They censor what they want to censor, and they keep up what they want to keep. But they keep up with things that are politically expedient to them. They censor Louis Farrakhan and they censor Alex Jones, but they keep up people that people that bully people online. Doesn't make any sense. Um, but yeah, I like that Lizzo is out there still promoting herself, still doing what she does, and I encourage everyone to do what they do, especially somebody like me that's been bullied their entire life. You know, for his weight, and I understand the kind of ostracization that goes through people's minds when they feel this, especially online, because okay, when we were going to school back in the day, at least you know, I can speak from I don't know about Lisa, but I can speak from my personal experience. Okay, what we would do is we would not go to school for a couple of weeks, you know, to avoid the bully or whatever. But with this, cyberbullying, the new wave of bullying, it's constantly, it's online, constantly berating them, barraging them, constantly coming at them with like a hail of stones, constantly throwing stones at them. And people that are, people want to politicize everything, right? And I seen a comment yesterday and I showed this to Lisa. This lady said, "Oh, well, Lizzo needs to shut the hell up. You know, she's a morbidly obese woman. Look at the things that are going on in Afghanistan. You know, with regards to the restrictions of women." Listen, whoever said that again, whoever said it is not important because I don't want to lend credence to whoever garbage human being said this. But this is my counterpoint to that. What Lizzo is doing is defying people like the Taliban. It's defying people like the Taliban that say that women should all be covered up, that women's bodies of any type, but particularly the type of Lizzo, like Lizzo, should be covered up or should be something ashamed of. So when Lizzo or Cardi B or Meg Thee Stallion goes out there and they express themselves sexually and they express their individuality, that is a way to defy assholes like the Taliban that want to use religion and tradition to control people's lives. They want to use religion and tradition to tell women what they can and cannot wear. So when Lizzo and people like her do that kind of stuff, they are engaging in rebellions and they are changing hearts and minds, not only from assholes like overseas, but from assholes right here that tell her that she can't do that, that she shouldn't do that, that she should have quote unquote more respect. So they are doing women a great service by acting like they act, believe it or not. Because one thing that they're expressing, they're showing that America represents in Western society and modern society represents freedom. So that's a win for 20th century, 21st century mentalities. So saying that she should just shut up and she should just she shouldn't express herself sexually or that she's disgusting. Don't you guys see the hypocrisy in that? Don't you guys see that that is exactly what the Taliban wants? People like the Taliban, people even here that think like the Taliban, that they think women should be shut up in kitchens and oh they should all be covered up and they should be in burlap suits or whatever. And they shouldn't be able to express themselves. Now, if people want to express themselves religiously and wear that type of clothing, that's their prerogative too. That's the thing that I'm trying to say. Is people should be able to express themselves the way they want to express themselves, not the way that you want them to express themselves. And when they express themselves that way, they shouldn't be belittled and demeaned behind the anonymity of a computer screen. And if you're gonna do it, at least have the courage to keep the comment there. If you're gonna put somebody down and you're going to belittle them and you're gonna make them feel small, keep the comment there. Don't delete the comment like a coward. If that's what you truly feel, have the courage of your convictions and stick by it. If not, don't even say it. But as far as Lizzo and as far as Cardi B, with their actions and their quote unquote overly sexual videos, they are representing feminism. They are representing progress for women, progress for self expression. They are representing for modern values. They are warriors on the front lines with the way they act for changing perceptions in hearts and minds. They're doing the job that you won't do. All you'll do is sit behind a computer screen and type something on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. Yeah, the woman was white. But, okay, yeah. And that's another dimension I didn't mention, Lisa, that a lot of what they said was racist stuff against Lizzo. You know, the whole desexualization of women, of black heavyset women in media. They're offended by Lizzo doing that, but they don't see the irony. They're supposed to, they're against the Taliban and misogynistic regimes like that because they are quote unquote for women's rights. When we left Afghanistan a couple of days ago, one of the first things that people said was, and even George W. Bush, who got us in the war, one of the first things he said was, what about the women? Well, change begins at home. How are you going to talk about the Afghan people or other kinds of races and other kinds of ethnicities should respect their women and should value the opinions and the forms of self-expression in art and music with their women when you don't even want to do that at home? You belittle Lizzo for doing that. You belittle Meg Thee Stallion for doing that, and you belittle Normani for doing that. You say, oh, wow, that's unacceptable. We shouldn't have that. Well, isn't that the same thing the Taliban and other Islamo-fascists are saying? That's the exact same thing they're saying. You may not be saying it or expressing it in those Islamic terms, but you are saying and expressing it in a different way. So you should be belittled, you should be made fun of, and you should be put down because your views are toxic and don't deserve any airtime. And not that you should be censored by companies either. I don't believe in censoring people by companies, but I believe in coming out here, making videos and making forms of self-expression that overpower your voice. So when your voice gets loud and obtuse, my voice will get louder and even more obtuse. When you get belligerent, I'll get even more belligerent. That's just how that's how we're gonna play. If you're gonna go toxic, I'm gonna go even more toxic. But you know, that's how it's gotta be for ignoramuses that want to use the misfortunes of a war, to, the misfortunes of what happened geopolitically, to try and bully and fat shame this poor woman. Or I shouldn't even say, right, Lisa is absolutely right. I didn't even think of that. Um, the U.S. is trying to control women's bodies with the right to choose, so the U.S. government shouldn't even be talking about, worrying about the rights. Yeah, it's easy to sit there and talk about what other people, other societies should be doing. Does the Islamic society or the Afghan society have problems? Sure, they have problems, and the problems are well known. And we talk about them on my channel all the time. We talk about how American companies such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, WWE, and other companies, and Disney co-sign um, regimes that are oppressive against women. But let's talk a little bit about what the toxicity of some of the people here do to women, and the toxicity of that some social media companies here and some corporations here and some governmental organizations here that are on the right wing that are conservative due to women, such as eliminating or trying to overturn Roe v. Wade. Again, my body, my choice. So if Lizzo wants to run around half naked, then that's the choice of Lizzo to run around half naked despite her size or how she looks. If Cardi B wants to run around half naked and present herself as a pregnant Greek goddess, that of course the Greek gods and the Roman gods are rooted in fertility. That's what you want to try to control, right? Fertility. That's the right of Cardi B. If other people want to walk around in hijabs or burqas and cover themselves from head to toe, then that is also their right to do. The point is, freedom is about freedom for all, not freedom for some, and moral dictates for some. Freedom is to do what you want, when you want, and because you want, and to express yourself the way you want, religiously, politically, sexually, and other ways. So if Little Nas X wants to do that, let Little Nas X do that. If other people want to not like Little Nas X because he does it, let them not like it. But be respectful. Say, listen, I don't like that video industry, baby. I don't like the video that Lizzo made rumors. So just don't listen to the song. That's your right. That's your freedom. But you don't reserve the right to impugn on the rights of other people that may enjoy this with your mean and toxic comments. You don't deserve that right. And if you make a comment like that, keep it up there and expect yourself to be called out in response to it. Anyway, this is a kind of long-winded video, but thank you again, Lisa, for commenting and contributing. And don't forget to like and subscribe, or dislike and unsubscribe if you want. But I hope you like and I hope you subscribe. And remember, freedom is what we all should represent. But regardless of freedom, with freedom comes responsibility, and there is a certain level of respect in society and a certain level of kindness. because besides what makes us people in society is our ability to sympathize and empathize and say, listen, um, even though we may differ in opinions and we may differ in philosophies, I still love you and I still respect you, and I'll still come at you with sound, concrete arguments and not ad hominem attacks, and try to belittle you personally and professionally, or try to make you harm yourself in any type of way. It's all about love and it's all about respect. Sure, you have your freedom. Of course, nobody would ever try to take your freedom away from you. But you also, with freedom comes responsibility, and with responsibility comes respect. Love you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace. Thank you, Lisa, for contributing.